Hello, Internet. I am Corione, your witch in residence here on YouTube. And today we're going to be talking about one of the movies that I've really enjoyed for being a biopic, and that's the movie Kinsey. Now, the reason why I bring up Kinsey is because it is Pride Month, and I would argue that Kinsey is another one of those icons that not enough people know about and is super important to how we view human interaction really going forward. Now, this one is going to be a little bit dicey. I'm going to have to talk about some pieces of how humans do things, and I'm going to have to be a little careful about things. But I want you guys to know that if you're a scientist, this is a movie to watch. If you're interested in any sort of queer theory stuff, this is the episode to watch, or this is the movie to watch. And if you're interested in how we look at the modern world and relationships, this is also a super important piece to watch. So, Kinsey wrote a book, Sexuality in the Human Male. And to do it, he put together a survey of thousands and thousands of men to get an idea of what they do, what they like, and how they do it. And did the same for the human female, although that was a lot more controversial a book, believe it or not. And in this, he discovered something that we use in modern day today called the Kinsey scale. And it has to do with how people are attracted to other people. So if you prefer people of the same gender, you're on one side of the scale. And if you prefer people of the opposite gender, you're on the other side of the scale. And the important piece they learned is that most of us are not at one end of the scale or the other. Most of us are actually reasonably in between. So say, for example, like it's between 1 and 7. Most people either fit into a 2 or a 6 or a 3. And that's interesting and important to know. And it did a lot to get queer people acceptance because we started to understand that there were a lot more people who were on this scale than not. And this is important. And this is pretty critical information that led to the modern world. Okay. Now, obviously, this doesn't talk about, what preferences society would like or what preferences an individual would like. Hey, you do you. But it is important to realize that. And for a lot of people hearing that they weren't alone, that there was a scientist out there that was willing to say, look, humans get freaky, and that's okay because we know they get freaky. We accept that they get freaky. We want them to get freaky, but we want them to do it and know that there are others out there and that it's safe to do and that we can accept our nature. And that message of acceptance by a scientific community is huge. And people may not totally understand that until, they do. And that's wonderful. Okay? It's critically important that we start to understand this, that we start to accept that people who do not view relationships and dating the way we do exist. And it's okay for them to exist. Okay? I'm very much a fan of the opinion that I am not right for everybody. Not everybody is right for me. And there are many, many different fish in the sea for everybody. And one of the things that I think this story shows, along with the fact that they experiment with polyamory and various other types of behavior that are common in humans, it's important to understand that this is part of us. And it's okay to see it as part of us. You don't have to be involved in every activity. If you've got a best friend and they're, super into horror movies and you find them kind of squiggy, you may not want to discuss horror movies with your friend, but you still want to be their friend, right? It's the same idea here. Okay? You can set ground rules and boundaries on what you're okay with and what you're not. But that's no reason to eliminate a potential friend or eliminate a person from your life. Okay? You can decide, look, when you're in my house, PDAs are not acceptable regardless of who's doing it. And that's okay, right? I've got a very, very lovely friend from India who his family is not comfortable with him and his girlfriend holding hands in their house until they're married. And that's okay. All right, it's your house. You can set those kind of rules. So long as you set blanket rules for everybody to follow, I think that's reasonable, right? From my perspective, right? All acts of love are expressions of the divine. And the truth of the matter is, the resource that is in shorter supply than gold, than platinum, than uranium is love. It's in a critically short supply everywhere in the world. And the fact that we don't do more to encourage people to love and to help them find that love is pretty bad. Okay? What people do in their bedrooms is their own business. And I will not take sides on whether something is acceptable or not because I'm not that person. And everybody has to choose what's acceptable for them. And it's completely okay for people to have preferences on who they wish to spend time with and what kind of person that is. And I make no judgments on that. What I do say is, and I think what Kinsey would say too, even as a scientist, is love is something very precious. And to turn your back on it is a terrible travesty. And we never should. So I'm going to suggest something to you now. I want you to take a look at the people in your life. And when we talk about love, I'm not necessarily talking about relationship love, although that is very important. I'm talking about familial love. I'm talking about the love that a mentor has with a mentee when that bond is strong. I'm talking about that kind of fraternal love that you have for your brothers. And I'm going to suggest that after watching this movie, embrace that. Okay? Embrace that love. If, just remind your friends that you're there for them, right? Even if it's the punch on the arm to the guys or a hug or whatever you guys do to show that you guys actually care, do it. Okay? Your family, give them a hug. It's about to be Father's Day. Remind your father that you do care about him. I try to do my best every Father's Day to remind my dad, who I hope is watching, just how much I care about him and how much I think he is responsible a great deal for turning me into the person I am today. And I am eternally grateful to him for that. So, guys, reach out, okay? Share the love. Share it respectfully, share it with consent, but share that. And remember, it doesn't have to be physical. It doesn't have to be big, emotional outbursts. It doesn't have to be public. But just remind the people that you love that you're there for them and that you care about them. Because one day they won't be. And I would hate for anyone to have to live not remembering that they are loved, that they are cared for, and that everyone here and everyone everywhere is part of that community with them. And we are all just trying to figure it all out together. And sometimes that's hard. But if we show each other a little love, we show each other a little compassion, we be there for our brothers and our sisters. then we'll get through it. I know some days it seems really bleak out there. We go forward and we read the newspaper and we see a lot of hate and a lot of anger and a lot of things that, but both Mr. Rogers and Yoda would be upset at us for. But that doesn't mean we turn our back on people. There is a line Gandalf says in Lord of the Rings, and I'm going to paraphrase it, but basically that evil has a tendency to happen in big, dramatic, epic gestures, and that love and compassion and goodness tend to happen in the smaller everyday things. And it's important we don't forget that, right? So consider mowing your elderly neighbor's lawn, right? Consider doing those things that show that you care and love your fellow human being, not because we need to do them to feel good, but because it'll make somebody else feel good. Okay? We don't have to always be rugged individuals. We can be part of a community that is working together to make it through some of the more challenging days. And I think, if anything, this movie proves that you can't do it alone. That it's okay to be a little off of the norm. And that no matter what, the people around you will be there for you when you need them. So long as you are there for them too. I think this stuff is super important, and I'm going to continue going on about this for the month because that's what we do here. There has been a request that has been made to me about possibly doing a dive into Irish folklore and mythology. If you guys are interested in that, or if this is something you think that should be more for the members, let me know in the comments section below. I'd be very interested to hear what you guys think of that. There's also been a discussion about possibly having a virtual bardic competition. The idea being that we will invite storytellers from all over YouTube to do a couple of minute video and put together a supercut of it, and then you guys will get to vote. I don't necessarily have a prize in mind quite yet, but maybe we can put something together, a little bit of a ceremony and a little bit of circumstance and pomp for the best storyteller out of the group as chosen by you guys. If that is something that you would be interested in, a annual midsummer bardic competition for this channel, let me know that too, because I think that would be an interesting use of our collective time together. And, potentially gives me a neat little vacation as I, am not going to be the only voice you get to hear from. So consider that, guys. Let me know what you think. I think it could be interesting. And if you have people that would be interested, or you yourself would be interested in something like that, message me. Let me know what you guys have in mind. I'd be very interested. Until then, merry meet, merry part, and merry meet again. Thanks, everybody. Have a wonderful day. Take care. Bye-bye.